She doesn't miss you until this happens. Modern Stoic. Love is not about possession. Love is about appreciation. Zrenia, Osho, when you left, she didn't miss you. There was no sudden emotional reaction when you stopped calling, when you distanced yourself, or when your silence settled in. In her mind, you were still emotionally present, still watching from afar, still hoping, still waiting for her to realize what you meant to her. Here's where many men go wrong. They believe that stepping back means disappearing entirely, but it's not your physical absence that gets to her. It's your emotional detachment. What truly shifts in her is when you stop reacting, when you stop chasing, when your energy no longer revolves around her feelings or her presence in your life. That's when she starts to feel the change. Now you aren't giving off frustration or hurt, you're radiating peace. You aren't bitter, you're better. It's not about punishing her with your silence. It's about simply living without the need for her approval or attention. And this is what makes her pause. This is when she begins to notice. It's not the quiet itself, but the realization that this time you're not coming back. In this segment, we'll explore that critical turning point. The moment she realizes that losing you was about more than just your attention. It was the loss of your presence, a presence she can never take for granted again. For a Stoic man, this is not something he's quick to offer again. Let's dive into that moment of change. Number 1. The distraction phase. In the early stages after you've gone, don't expect her to feel it immediately. She won't. The silence you left behind isn't like a sudden storm. No, it doesn't hit her right away. Instead, she fills the void with distractions. She goes out more. She fills her days with friends and noise, scrolling endlessly through her phone, sending late-night texts to people who barely interest her. Maybe she even starts to work out more, or talks to someone new, just enough to spark a little novelty to numb the space you've left. On the surface, it might seem like she's moving on, like she's fine. But don't be fooled. This is the distraction phase, the gap between loss and realization. You're no longer in the frame, but don't kid yourself, you're not gone from the story. Your absence, like a shadow, lingers. The way you handled things, the way you didn't chase her or beg for her attention, the way you chose dignity over drama, it stays with her. Even if she doesn't admit it, your presence is etched in her mind. Here's the hard truth. A modern Stoic doesn't rush to be remembered. He doesn't run after closure or validation, and he doesn't beg for visibility. He lets the silence breathe because he understands the power of absence. Some absences don't echo immediately. They take time to sink in, and when they do, they echo deep. She might try to fill the space with anything to avoid feeling the discomfort of your absence. But that's her problem, not yours. The blessing of Stoicism is knowing that you can't control how others react to your presence or your absence. You can only control your own path, your own composure, and your own healing. A Stoic man doesn't get emotionally pulled into someone's avoidance. He doesn't chase her, doesn't break his peace to see if she's noticing him. No, he lets her go, not with anger or resentment, but with stillness. The old Stoic wisdom reminds us that true power lies in being still when everything around you is moving. And that stillness, my friend, it's more powerful than any words could be. It's not the absence of noise, it's the presence of peace. She won't see it at first, but once she starts to feel the weight of her distractions fade away, that stillness will haunt her. The nights out will start to feel shallow. The endless chase for validation will start to feel empty. Eventually, the noise will die down, and when it does, she'll feel it, deep in her bones. Not just the loss of a man, but the loss of something far rarer. She'll mourn the loss of your calm, your depth, your presence, the things you didn't need to flaunt because they were already there, quietly and powerfully holding space in her life. You weren't out there trying to show her your worth. You didn't need to, and that's what she'll begin to understand once the noise subsides. So don't check in. Don't go back into the drama. Don't break your stillness. Let life teach her. Let time strip away the layers of distractions she's hidden behind. And when the noise fades, as it always does, your absence won't just echo, it will speak volumes. The blessing of Stoicism lies in the ability to remain grounded while others chase fleeting moments. While she fills her time with temporary fixes, you're standing firm. You're not running after her, not seeking her approval. Your presence is your gift, and when you stop chasing, that is when she'll truly understand what she's lost. Number 2. Routine without you. She won't feel it at first. The absence you left won't hit her immediately. Instead, it sneaks in like a drip of water wearing down stone. Slowly, almost imperceptibly. It happens in the smallest moments, the ones that seem insignificant, but are far from it. She reaches for her phone, that familiar motion, muscle memory kicking in, expecting to see your name there. Good morning? Used to be the greeting that would light up her day before she even opened her eyes. Now, there's nothing. An empty screen. No notification, no message, just an absence. At first she might shrug it off. Maybe she convinces herself it's for the best. She fills her days with noise, social media, distractions, faces that don't know her the way you did. But here's the truth. Routine reveals the depth of what's been lost. You weren't just a name on her phone. You were woven into the fabric of her daily life. Your messages, your energy, your voice, it became part of her rhythm. The way you listened, the way you showed up for her, the way you made her feel understood, it all contributed to her inner clock. When that disappears, something subtle but undeniable shifts. Her days go on, but they feel lighter in a strange way. Not freer, not better, just emptier. It's like something real was there, and now it's gone. Even if she doesn't admit it to herself, deep down she feels it. This is where most men mess up. They rush in, hoping that by reappearing, they'll remind her of what she's missing. They chase. They try to explain, to fill that space. But not you. You're different. You don't need to react. You don't post things hoping she'll see and feel jealous. You don't keep watching her stories, hoping for any sign that she's noticed your absence. You've simply stepped out of the frame. Not with anger, not with drama, but with clarity. That is the path of the Stoic. You're not trying to make her miss you. You're not manipulating the silence. You've simply stopped being available where you weren't fully appreciated. Epictetus, the great Stoic philosopher, once said, "We should always be asking ourselves, is this something that is or is not in my control?" You cannot control her feelings, her timing, or her realization, but you can control your own focus. You can control your direction. And instead of filling the void, you let the void speak for itself. You must understand this. Her not reaching out doesn't mean she's not affected. It's just that some things can't be forced. The absence of your presence becomes a quiet weight on her life, and deep down she feels it. It's not just the absence of a man, it's the absence of peace, the emotional consistency you brought, the grounded presence that didn't need to prove itself to anyone. That's what she'll start to miss. Not just the text messages, not just the conversations, but the meaning behind them, the depth of connection you brought into her life. When her routine finally feels too quiet, too predictable, without your energy, she will pause. And that pause? That is the moment where the echo of your presence begins to speak louder than any words ever could. It won't be because you forced her to feel anything. It will be because you stayed true to yourself. Your absence isn't something to regret. It's not something to feel guilty about. You weren't chasing what didn't honor you. You didn't break your stillness just to be seen. That isn't bitterness. That is balance. That is strength. This is the essence of Stoicism. You don't chase recognition. You don't seek validation. You simply live by your principles, grounded and steady. You do not need to fight for a place in someone's life that hasn't fully received you. Reflect on this. Have you ever been part of someone's rhythm, only to realize that your presence was taken for granted? Maybe you poured energy into someone, only to realize that they didn't truly appreciate what you brought to the table. If this resonates with you, drop a comment saying, "My peace speaks louder now," and let me know how you've experienced this in your own life. And if you feel like this message hit home, be sure to like this content. It helps more than you know, and it's a way for you to take control of the message you're putting out into the world. Number 3, the comparison trap. She thought she could replace you, not because she stopped caring, but because she convinced herself that someone else could give her what you once did, maybe even more. It's the lie we all tell ourselves when we're trying to move on too fast. She thought the thrill of a new connection would drown out the void your absence left. The excitement of someone new, someone louder, more eager, would be enough to mask the calm security you used to provide. But here's the truth. The comparison starts to creep in. At first, it's subtle. He answers quickly. He's always available. He's eager to please. But his words don't land the same way. His presence doesn't bring her peace. It demands validation. She's overwhelmed, not grounded. And deep down, even though she may never admit it, she starts to realize that what she had with you wasn't just surface level, it was something deeper. Depth is rare, and she's beginning to see that it doesn't come around every day. The Stoic man doesn't play this game. He doesn't rush to reclaim his space when someone else enters her life. He doesn't check her social media, try to one-up the new guy, or scream for attention. He knows real value doesn't need to be loud. It simply is. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." A Stoic doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. He knows that when someone loses something genuine, time will reveal the truth. Time will speak in the quiet moments. In the times she's alone, lying next to someone else but longing for the peace she once felt with you. When someone else gives her a compliment, but it doesn't reach her soul the way your silence did. That's when the weight of comparison hits her, even if she doesn't admit it. Pride gets in the way, but it shows. It shows in her hesitations, in the way she's suddenly curious about your life, in the way her new excitement feels like a performance. The truth is, she doesn't miss your face. She misses how she felt when you were around. She misses your steadiness, yourself, respect, the way you made her feel without even trying. That's the power of a man who doesn't flinch when replaced. He knows that most replacements are just distractions, dressed up as solutions. The illusion may last for a while, but eventually it breaks. When it does, it won't just be about missing you. It'll be about the realization that she's never going to feel that way again with anyone who doesn't embody your calm, your discipline, your presence. The Stoic man remains constant. He knows that what he has is worth more than any fleeting thrill. And when she finally realizes the depth she lost, when the comparison becomes unbearable, that's when she'll miss you. Not for what you gave her, but for the man you were, and the man you chose to remain even after walking away. You must understand this. A Stoic man understands that true power doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be authentic. Life is about depth, not distractions. Stay grounded, stay steady, the world will catch up. Number 4, your stillness becomes loud. You've been doing it all wrong. Stop texting, stop checking in. No more reactions to her posts. No more just thinking of you messages late at night. No breadcrumbs, no faint signs that you're still there, still hoping, still lurking in the shadows of her life. Just stillness. And here's where most men miss the point. That silence isn't passive, it's loud. Not in an exaggerated, desperate way, but in the quietest, most powerful form imaginable. It doesn't scream for attention, yet it commands it. At first she didn't notice. She's used to men folding. She's used to the predictable dance of men who reach out, checking in, sending those tiny signals that they care. But when that pattern breaks, when your presence disappears not with noise, but with peace, everything changes. Your stillness becomes loud. It takes up space in her mind, and not because you threw a tantrum or caused a scene, but because you didn't. You've shown her something she wasn't expecting. She starts wondering, where did he go? Why isn't he trying to make me feel special anymore? And that absence, that void, starts to speak in a way your messages never did. You didn't go silent to make her miss you, though. You went silent because you no longer need to create noise to feel validated. That's the blessing of Stoicism. It's about mastering yourself, not trying to control or manipulate the situation. It's about self-respect. The old Stoic knew the value of withdrawal, not as a tactic to manipulate or gain attention, but as a practice of peace. Imagine her scrolling through her phone, scrolling past her notifications, and then nothing from you. There's nothing there to fill the space. That spot where your thoughtful message, your funny video, or your midday check used to be, empty. It's not just a lack of attention, it's the absence of your energy, your calm, your presence. And that's what she's missing now. Not the noise, but your stillness. This is the power of the modern Stoic man, the man who doesn't need to chase or beg for attention. He understands that real connections don't need convincing. The right connection, the real connection, will never be built on noise. Instead, it will be built on respect, mutual understanding, and the ability to simply be. When you master your silence, it speaks louder than anything else ever could. In time, she'll stop asking, "Where did he go?" and start asking, "How did he become so composed, so silent, and yet so present in my mind?" That's the power of a man who walks with clarity. That's the man she starts to miss, not because he vanished, but because his stillness made her realize how much he had to offer in the first place. So ask yourself, are you still scrambling for her attention, trying to be heard in a world full of noise? Or are you becoming the kind of man whose very presence, silent, grounded, confident, says more than any message ever could? If you're beginning to understand the true power of stillness, then you've got it. Drop a comment, share your thoughts, or simply type, "Stillness is strength." And if you know someone who's struggling to stay grounded and not react, send this their way. Because in the end, peace isn't found in chasing. It's found in mastering the silence, embracing the blessing of Stoicism, and becoming a man who doesn't need to prove his worth to anyone. Let the silence speak for you. Stick with me, because this is just the beginning. We're moving forward with even more powerful tactics to leave a lasting impact on their minds. Get ready for the next move, one that deepens their connection to you in ways they can't ignore. If you are ready, comment, "Let's go, let's move forward." Number 5. Growth without her. She notices the change. At first, it's subtle. You're in the gym more. Your body's transforming, stronger, sharper. There's a glow about you that wasn't there before, but it's not just the physical changes. No, it's deeper than that. Something more permanent. You've become quieter, clearer. You're no longer chasing approval, explaining yourself, or reacting to the world around you. You're steady. You're composed. And the most haunting part of it all? None of it has anything to do with her. This growth is for you, and only you. She might scroll through your stories, pretending not to notice. Maybe she casually asks a friend about you, fishing for any scraps of information, trying to keep her indifference in check. But she sees it. She notices the little things, your posture, the way you carry yourself, the way you command space with your presence and discipline. But what really gets to her, what truly unsettles her, is that this transformation isn't about impressing her. It isn't about sending a message or hoping she'll come back. You're evolving because you simply refuse to remain stagnant. You're becoming the man you were always meant to be, regardless of her. And that, my friend, is a quiet truth that stings more than any breakup ever could. Stoicism teaches us that the only thing we truly own is our character. Everything else, attention, love, approval, is external, fragile, and fleeting. A Stoic man evolves not because he wants others to notice, but because he's committed to growth, to mastering his own mind and actions. He refuses to settle. He knows that peace, strength, and order must start from within. That is the foundation of a Stoic life. You're no longer chasing her, no longer seeking closure or validation. You're pursuing your own standard, and that's it. You've shifted your focus. And ironically, that's exactly when she feels your absence the most. She doesn't miss the texts. She doesn't miss the good mornings. What she misses is the way you made her feel safe, grounded, centered. That sense of stability you brought into her life. It was never about your words or your actions. It was about who you were at your core. And now, you're offering that sense of steadiness to yourself. You've become your own source of peace and strength. That shift? It's powerful, and it's painful to watch from the outside. When she realizes that the man who once needed her now seeks more from himself, that's when it hits hardest. Let her sit with that realization. Let her watch from the sidelines as you find strength in solitude. Let her witness the discipline you've built in the quiet, the confidence that no longer depends on her validation or approval. You're not punishing her. You're honoring your path. And that's what Stoicism is all about. It's not about controlling outcomes or forcing others to see your worth. It's about mastering your responses, staying aligned with what is true, and focusing on what you can control, yourself. And when she finally realizes what she lost, when she starts replaying the past in her mind, wondering if she misjudged your worth, you must remember this. She doesn't miss the old version of you. She misses the man you've become, the man who no longer needs her to feel complete. That's when she truly starts to miss you. And that, in the end, is the essence of the Stoic lesson. Evolve not to gain something, but to honor your own growth. When you no longer need to prove yourself to anyone, that's when your true power is realized. You don't have to chase her. You don't have to explain. The man you are now speaks for itself. Number 6. Mutual friends mention you. She's not asking about you, but the whispers start. Maybe it's at lunch with a mutual friend, or someone casually posts a picture at an event you used to attend together, and suddenly your name slips into the conversation. It's nothing overt, but enough to stir something inside her. He's been looking good lately. He's been grinding, staying focused, or perhaps more subtle. He seems different now, calmer, more centered. And here's where it begins, not because you're trying to be remembered, but because of the ripple effect of your discipline and growth. You're not sending messages. You're not stalking her profile or trying to trigger curiosity. You're simply living. You've turned inward, not in isolation, but in active refinement. That quiet evolution starts to show in ways words never could. It's not in what you say, but in the energy people feel when they mention your name. The Stoic man doesn't return to the past to seek validation. He understands that true value never needs promotion. He doesn't drop hints hoping someone will carry them back to her. He doesn't ask mutual friends to put in a good word. No, he becomes the kind of man who is worth talking about even in his absence. You've become that man. Your presence still lingers in her world, not because you've chased after attention, but because it was never about noise, it was about substance. While others may disappear and then try to be seen again, chasing attention like it's some form of currency, you took the silence and used it like a forge, building character, purpose, and inner peace. Now, without effort, without strategy, your name returns to her world, and this time it carries more weight because you're no longer just the man she knew. You've become the man she underestimated. Perhaps when she hears about you, she smiles. Maybe she hides the sting behind a casual nod. But deep down, a question lingers. Why didn't he reach out? Does he even think about me? How is he moving forward without me? This is the power of detaching with grace. You're not bitter. You're not trying to get even. You've simply risen. As your life expands, new habits, new goals, new peace, your name becomes a mirror she wasn't ready to face. It reflects a version of you she never expected. A man who didn't collapse when she left, but crystallized into something stronger. So when mutual friends mention you, it's not just small talk. It's a trigger, a creeping awareness that the story didn't end where she thought it would. The Stoic principles guide you here, detach with purpose, and you'll see how the past can't touch the man you've become. And sometimes, that's all it takes. Not a message, not a grand gesture, just your name, and the legacy of how you handled the loss. That's when she starts to feel it. Let this be your reminder. You don't need to be in her inbox to be on her mind. You just need to keep becoming someone your past can't compete with. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. So let your actions speak louder than your words ever could. Keep building, keep evolving, Keep mastering the Stoic life. Your name will speak for itself. If this resonates with you, comment below and share it with someone who needs this reminder. Don't forget to subscribe for more wisdom. Comment to remember. Become the man your past can't compete with. Number 7. A sudden trigger. It could be a song, a place, a scent, or just the faintest memory. In an instant, it strikes her, not like a crashing wave, but more like a quiet, unforeseen current that pulls her out of the present moment. Maybe she's at a party, laughing with friends, appearing fine on the outside, but then someone plays that one song, the one you both used to sing together with the windows down, no destination in mind. Or perhaps she enters a room that has just the faintest trace of your cologne. Maybe it's even something small, like scrolling through social media and seeing a phrase you always said, or someone wearing the hoodie she used to steal from you. In that moment, time folds. She's not where she is anymore. She's back in that familiar warmth, that comfort she thought she could forget. But here's the thing. She didn't want to remember. She didn't plan for it. But memory, like life itself, doesn't ask for permission. It simply arrives. The truth. This isn't part of your strategy. You didn't plant any emotional landmines for her to stumble across. You've been living your life. You've been moving forward. And yet, life in its own way has decided to remind her of you. The modern Stoic doesn't cling to the past. He doesn't sit by the phone waiting for a message, counting the days in silence, or hoping that karma will deliver a second chance. He's grounded in the present, content with the reality around him, driven by purpose. He knows that what's meant to return will do so without force, and what doesn't, that's simply part of the natural order. He doesn't try to resist it. But here's the paradox. While he's at peace with the present, she begins to feel the pull, not because he tried to create it, but because he didn't. The modern Stoic doesn't chase attention or force himself to be remembered. He doesn't stay visible or keep in constant contact. He doesn't need to make noise. His absence speaks for itself. Emotional impact doesn't need reminders or constant triggers. It quietly echoes over time. When that trigger happens, whether it's the coffee shop, the memory, or that hoodie, it doesn't just make her long for a moment. It makes her feel the contrast. She feels the difference between the chaos of her current reality and the calm strength she once had with you. And that is when the truth hits hardest. So if you're watching this and wondering when that moment will come, stop waiting. Let go. Focus on building a life that aligns with who you are, not a life curated to impress her if she ever comes back, but a life rooted in peace, truth, and discipline. Don't chase her. Don't chase approval. Don't chase the past. Build yourself. Be the man who walks through life with purpose, who doesn't flinch, who doesn't bend. Because she may not miss you today, but life has a way of circling back. And when it does, the man who didn't flinch, didn't chase, didn't bend, will be the one she can't forget. That is the blessing of Stoicism. And when that day comes, she will realize you weren't the man she thought she could replace. You were the man she never should have let go. Number 8. The absence of emotional safety. She begins to sense it. Something is missing. Not a person, not just a message. It's not the old conversations or the way you made her laugh. No, it's something quieter, something deeper. At first she can't put her finger on it, but it lingers, nagging at her. It's the feeling of emotional safety, that sense of being able to exhale, to let her guard down around you, to feel grounded and secure. It's not because you were trying to impress her, but because that was simply who you were. Your presence carried weight, not through loud declarations or grand gestures, but through certainty. You were calm, you were steady. You didn't need to be in control of everything, but you were in control of yourself. And that, my friend, is the true gift of Stoicism. When that presence vanishes, it leaves behind a different kind of emptiness, one that noise and distractions can't fill. At first, she might surround herself with the chaos, new faces, new conversations, maybe even someone who tries to say all the right things. But in the end, none of it truly satisfies. The absence of emotional safety, that sense of being anchored, can't be replaced by fleeting excitement or surface-level interactions. She might fool herself for a while, but soon enough she realizes something. There's no calm in the chaos. These new distractions might bring momentary sparks, but they lack the quiet strength she once had with you, the calm confidence you brought to her life, the way you didn't flinch under pressure, the way you didn't over-explain yourself, the way you could sit in silence and still make her feel understood. Those qualities aren't easily found. In a world full of noise and drama, your presence was a quiet refuge. That is the blessing of Stoicism. A Stoic man doesn't give his peace away freely. He doesn't try to be a hero or savior, but instead, he is anchored in who he is. He's done the inner work. He has mastered himself, and because of that, his presence feels like a calm harbour in a world full of storms. He doesn't need to chase validation, and he doesn't try to fix every problem. He doesn't create new problems either. And in today's world, that is something rare, truly rare. So when that emotional safety disappears, it's not loud, it's not dramatic, it doesn't scream for attention, it simply echoes. It's the quiet, unsettled feeling she experiences when lying next to someone new, but still feeling that anxiety, that lack of peace. It's when she's venting to someone, and she realizes the person beside her is just waiting to speak, not to listen, not to understand. It's when she starts second, guessing herself because the emotional space that used to be so safe no longer feels secure. That is when your absence makes its presence known, not as silence, but as contrast. You see, the Stoic man doesn't demand to be missed. He doesn't chase acknowledgement or try to force his way into someone's thoughts. He simply exists with clarity and control over himself, and because of that, his absence becomes a mirror. And when she looks into that mirror and doesn't see your calm strength reflected back at her, that's when it hits her. Not immediately, but eventually. And when it does, it won't be your photos or your messages she misses. It will be the peace, the security, the steadiness that you brought to her life. It will be the man who didn't make her feel like she had to earn your love, the man who didn't make her walk on eggshells to keep it. That emotional safety, the ability to feel at ease, is one thing that doesn't fade with time. If anything, it becomes even more noticeable when it's gone. As a Stoic, you don't have to force the outcome. You don't have to demand recognition. Live your life with purpose, clarity, and emotional discipline, and let your absence do the talking. That is the way of the modern Stoic. Your emotional safety, your strength, will be missed. You can be sure of that. If this message spoke to your heart today, leave a comment about faith. I am a high-value man. Hey there, thanks for watching. If this video helped you see things in a new light, drop a comment below and let me know what part hit home for you. Or just type, "I've chosen peace over being remembered." It may seem simple, but your words could be exactly what someone else needs to hear while they're in the process of letting go. Don't forget to hit that like button. If this spoke to you, and make sure to check out the videos on screen, they'll dive even deeper into the journey of strength, detachment, and self-respect. Remember, true peace comes from within. When you focus on your growth and stay grounded, the right things will fall into place. Thanks again for tuning in, and as always, stay grounded.